here with John Gannon. John Gannon's Trobe student. Tell us about your interests.
I'm interested in a text that was written by the Dutch historian Johan Huizinga,
Yeah.
and it's called Homo ludens. It was written in 1938,
Yep.
and it's really presents a theory of human nature. Homo ludens meaning man the player, and Huizinga presented this interesting anthropological idea that human beings are by nature players, and that they develop into their personalities and into the beings that they become through the process of play.
Right.
That they create the world that they live in through play. That they innovate
Yep.
culture. They innovate technologies. They adapt those technologies, and they sustain those technologies through this sort of ludic process. Ludic meaning playful.
So
process.
before you explain to me why this might be interested in terms of totality, can you tell me that stuff?
So what totality is it's understanding a social fact as part of a greater totality. So that the classic example is of Mouse's The Gift, and what he did was he looked at particular societies, the ethnographies about societies, and looked at gift giving within those societies and how the act of gift giving and gift receiving can be understood as part of a greater totality. And then understanding these things ethnologically, comparing one society, so it could be the Trobrian society, with another society, Maori society. Yep. And from these doing these different comparisons, understanding the essence of what the gift is. So in Mouse's example, he came up with the idea that gift giving always relates to giving, receiving, and reciprocating. And this sort of relates to human nature, this social fact. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned before you thought, I can't pronounce his name, Huizinga's theory was somewhat, how do you put it? It was a attack. What was it? Not rush. What?
A raid.
A raid. Yeah. Explain that.
So in Homo ludens was written in 1938, and Huizinga he was a Dutch historian. He'd thought a lot about the sort of miscellaneous aspects of history, the thing, rituals and manners and these types of things. And in 38, as Europe was under threat from totalitarianism, he put forth this idea of Homo ludens, which was a departure from his old works, and he really did an ethnological analysis of what play is in different societies and so forth. And he argued that by nature the human being is ludic. So ludicrous.
Playful or playful? Is that right? Or
playful.
Because ludicrous can kind of mean, let's phrase, stupid kind of. I mean, is that part of it? Not really.
Well, I mean.
Keep going.
I mean, I'm playing around when I use the word ludicrous. I'm saying human beings are ludicrous because, in the modern world we tend to think of ourselves as rational and we do things in great earnestness and so on and so forth. But in actual fact, these things are still ludicrous. It's just that they're a particular mode of play, and I think this is what Huizinga is arguing, that every mode in which every society in which human beings live, what they do is based on this sort of ludic drive, this ludic process, and what we are doing today is ludicrous. And of course, when he saw the rising threat of totalitarianism, he thought this was ludicrous. This sort of the rationalisation of life and this growing instrumentality and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
yeah.
Occurs to me, interviewing is also kind of ludicrous too, right?
It is, yeah, it's a dialogue and anything can occur, and it just happens this sort of enters your mind and you just play with it and try it out, and yeah.
So what can you contribute? What you were talking before about? Where's the gap? What gap do you think you might be able to fill with your research?
Well, I mean, I think that the social sciences need a grounding in through a very clear view of what human nature is.
Yep.
And I think Homo ludens offers an idea about human nature, but there's a lot of problems with the text.
Yeah.
It was done as a raid, and ethnologically, it has a lot of problems. So
Yeah.
it would be very useful to recast Homo ludens in it through thinking about the text ethnologically and see
Yeah.
what we can actually come up with. Yeah.
You were mentioning something about economy, right?
Yeah.
Your angle. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, what keeps societies together, I mean, this is a theory, but what it is that creates a solidarity in societies is exchange. And so we know that this occurs in archaic societies, gift economies, where people exchange items and alliances between different groups are kept together through the exchange of various things, including gifts.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is when you read these ethnographies about gift giving, that they are very ludic acts. There's a playfulness about it, and so on and so forth. So the same with if you look at what happens in modern markets, where there's these huge exchanges of money going on. That there are people that are playing the game. They're having great fun, actually making lots of money, and so on and so forth. So it's a similar type of idea, but at a much bigger level. And so I think it would be interesting to look at this sort of playfulness and the ludicrous nature of exchange in modern economies, and understanding these big societies through understanding simpler versions, which can be seen in micro level or archaic examples.
So, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I think the first...
what kind of data will you adduce? Will you go to ethnographies of contemporary capitalist transactions, or what kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it could be based on ethnographies. I mean, a lot of it is straight in front of us if we look at what's occurring in front of us in the everyday.
Yeah.
Or what's the news, or what's look at cultural artifacts, films, and myths, and all these type of things. We can actually see that they provide data for thinking about, okay, what is playful, where is the exchange occurring, and understanding each of these little things as part of a bigger totality. And then through this process of doing comparisons between different societies, we can hopefully move towards getting to the essence of what human nature is and how societies function and how solidarity occurs.
Good. Lastly, a critique. Now, probably some people who watch this interview will think, this is being essentialist. You talk about essence and human nature.
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
Well, I mean, I think it's a really important critique. The methodology I would use is a Maussian methodology. Of course, he was against essentialism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think there is an essence that can be seen between different societies. And Mauss knew this. When he wrote about the gift, or when he described human beings as having this sort of technological nature, he thought the problem is that human beings are an enigma. It's very difficult to try and figure out what their nature is. But I think he thought it was possible. It just takes a long time. The ethnological process needs to be a recursive process that occurs over long periods of time in order to sort of get to what the essence of human nature is.
Yeah.
I think
So you can defend it. You can defend the term essence. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the very beginning of Homo ludens, Huizinga says he talks about the merry gambols of dogs, and dogs were running around and playing and fighting and so on. And it seems to be the case that it wouldn't matter if people had never seen a dog before, if they, wherever they came from in the world, if they looked at these dogs, they would instantly know they're playing. And this is the idea of that there's something about our nature as human beings, as animals, that we all know, that we can all see something, this thing called play, and we know instantly that this is play. And I think that says a lot. There is something in our essence that is playful.
Great. Thanks, John Gannon. Looking forward to more from you.
Thanks, Nick.